Want to design your parking layout according to a specific parking code instead of entering all the standards manually every time? Welcome to this present trade tutorial on how to create a custom parking code standard in ParkCAD. And if you'd like to follow along step by step, you can request the free trial from Present Trade. Now let's start. Before we begin, let's understand what we're working with. Here we have the perimeter of our parking area. Depending on how the parking spaces are arranged relative to the perimeter, we can have different parking classes. When the parking spaces are perpendicular to the perimeter, we use the on-street class. And when the parking spaces are parallel to the perimeter, we use the parallel class. In this example, we'll create a custom standard based on the Saudi parking code. Of course, the same process can be used to create any other parking code or standard you need. Now let's create our standard. Go to Design Parameters. A new standard window will open. Let's give our standard a name. For example, SHC, for Saudi Highway Code. Make sure New Code Standard is selected, then click Next. Now we reach the Vehicle Sizes page. Here, we can define the vehicle types that will be used in our standard. For this example, we'll add small cars. Click Next to move to the Parking Classes page. Here we'll add the parking classes we want to use. In our example, we'll add parallel and on-street. Next, we'll define the parking angles. According to the standard we're using, we'll add 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. Then we'll set the units to meters, which matches the units we're using for our project. Finally, enable automatic layout and click Finish. Now ParkCAD generates the layout for our new standard. As we see, we now have 8 different situations. For on-street, we have 4 different angles: 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. Parallel is a separate parking class and does not vary by angle, so it appears as a separate option from these angle-based layouts. If there's an option you don't need, simply select it and click Remove. And if you're not familiar with the abbreviations used in the table, you can click on the Long Names option to display the full names more clearly. Now let's look at how these values work. You'll notice that some of the cells are highlighted in white, while others are highlighted in grey. The white cells are the main variables that we need to enter according to our parking standard. Once we enter these values, ParkCAD automatically calculates the remaining grey values based on them. Let's start with the parallel option. The first variable is the stall width. According to our example, we'll enter 2.5 meters. Next is the basic stall length, which we'll set to 6.5 meters. Then we have the aisle width. For a one-way aisle, we'll enter 4 meters. And for a two-way aisle, we'll enter 7.5 meters. As you can see, ParkCAD automatically calculates the remaining values based on what we've entered. And of course, these values aren't locked. For example, let's say we realize that the basic stall width and basic stall length were entered in the wrong places. We can simply switch them and ParkCAD will recalculate the dependent values automatically. Now let's continue entering the remaining standards. Once you've finished defining all the required values, click Save, then click OK. And now, all of our Saudi parking standards have been added to ParkCAD. Before creating a design, you can use these new standards for both the perimeter and interior options. So let's see how they work in a real design. Click Lot Boundary. Now we can choose the standard we just created and apply the settings we need. For this example, we'll select the two-way option and enable Align. And we're done. But let's make sure the design is actually following the values we entered. We'll check the dimensions directly in the drawing. As you can see, the stall width is 4.2 meters, matching the value calculated by our standard. So instead of manually entering these requirements every time, we now have our Saudi parking standard saved directly inside ParkCAD and ready to use whenever we need it. And here you have it. A simple way to create your own parking code standard in ParkCAD and apply it directly to your parking designs. Contact Present Trade today to get your free trial of ParkCAD and try it yourself.